Hey guys, I'm Esther from Spicy Vegan Food, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make delicious carrot lox bagel. Yum! So if you've ever had carrot lox before, you know just how good it is, but if you're eating vegan or trying to cut down on fish, you might want to try an alternative. Just because we're making salmon out of carrot, we're actually not missing the protein component in this meal. We're going to be making a super delicious, high protein, vegan cream cheese. So you're going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. This is so delicious. It takes a bit of time to prep, but if you do this ahead of time, really the perfect meal to share with your guests. This is really the perfect meal to take on a weekend away. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to make this. Alright, so the first thing we're going to need to do is make our carrot lox here. So we need about 5 to 6 large carrots. I used a few extra since mine were smaller. And then the first thing we can do is actually peel them if you want to. These are organic carrots, so you really don't have to peel them, just wash them before you get started. We're going to want to preheat the oven to 350 degrees, and we can save those peels and use them in a vegetable broth later on so we don't have to waste them. Now I need to get out a mandolin slicer or a peeler. Whichever you have. A mandolin slicer is a little easier, but if you don't have it, don't worry, you can easily do this with a vegetable peeler. So I'm going to put some really good firm pressure down on that peeler, and I'm just going to press down and create these little ribbons. So these are going to be our little thin salmon slice pieces. We do want these to be super thin. I don't think that cutting them with a knife you could get them quite this thin, so use your vegetable peeler or mandolin slicer for this. So I'm just going to keep creating those little ribbons using my vegetable peeler, and you can see how nice those are coming out. I'm going to want to do this with all my carrots, and then I can move on to the next step. So I'm just going to keep using that firm pressure. You can go a little bit faster than this. I'm just going a little bit slower to show what I'm doing here. So I'm going to finish up with all of those. And then I have these beautiful carrot ribbons, which are going to be our little fake lox pieces or our little fake salmon pieces. And of course, when I'm cutting carrots, my dog is waiting for a little piece because she always gets a piece of carrot. And now I'm going to add these into a baking dish. We're going to bake them up just for a little bit in that oven at 350. So I'm going to put a tiny little bit of olive oil on the bottom of my baking dish there, and I'm going to add in my ribboned carrots. Now I'm going to use about 1 tablespoon total of olive oil just on these carrots to bake them in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my olive oil again and just do a tiny little drizzle over top just to give them a little something. And we're also going to add in a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. So I've got a little bit of pink salt there, some fresh ground black pepper, and once I have those on, I'm just going to mix it really well with my squeaky clean hands, or you can mix it with some tongs if you like, and then I'm just going to toss those around and put them in the oven. So once I put these in the oven, it's going to be at 350 for about 25 minutes until those carrots are nice and tender and you can pierce them with a fork. And while those are baking, I can use that time to start working on my next 2 items, which will be my marinade and my vegan cream cheese. So for our marinade, I've got a few ingredients here. I've got 2 nori snack sheets, so you can just get those from TNT or your local Asian supermarket, or even in your international aisle in the grocery store. So what I like to do is just roll up those little nori snack sheets, those little seaweed sheets, and I'm going to just start cutting them with my scissors. I just find this to be easier and faster for me, but you can totally cut these with a knife. You do you. So I'm just going to start sort of slicing those up. You can make them even smaller than this if you don't want to hit like a piece of the nori sheet, but I honestly think it tastes really good. We don't want to skip this step because this is what adds the fishy flavor. So make sure you can get your hands on some of those little nori sheets. Now next, I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. So I've got half a lemon here. I'm just going to make sure I get about 1 tablespoon, which would be about 1/4 of that lemon total, and a little seed there. I'm just going to pick that out. And then next up, we can use soy sauce if you want to make this gluten-free. This can absolutely be gluten-free, and you can use tamari. This whole thing can be put on a gluten-free bagel, and it's amazing like that as well. So this whole thing can be made gluten-free too if you need to. And then I've got 2 teaspoons of liquid smoke. Again, another ingredient you really cannot skip or substitute because we need that smoky flavor to make it sort of replicate like a smoked salmon. We're going to add in a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to add in a dash of garlic powder and half a teaspoon of smoked paprika and 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. Wow, sorry, that was a little fast. Now I've got all those ingredients in there. I'm going to mix them all together, and that is our beautiful marinade. That is what's going to turn our carrots from just regular, boring, plain old carrots into what they're going to be, which is our salmon. Now we're going to make our cream cheese. So there's all the ingredients. So this is great. It's plant-based. It's high in protein. The first thing we want to do is put a cup of just raw unsalted cashews in a bowl. We're going to cover them with boiling water for at least 10 minutes. So I'm going to let those soak there. And while those are soaking, I can prep my other ingredients. So I've got 1 brick of extra firm tofu. There is no need to press your tofu. You can just throw it right in there like that. And then I'm going to add in some fresh herbs. I'm going to add in some dill because I think that's perfect with this recipe, but you can just make it plain. You don't have to add any of the fresh herbs in there. I'm going to add 1/4 cup of water, and I'm going to add the juice of half a lemon. So that's about 1 1/2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I'm going to get that in there. That adds a really nice acidity to balance out this vegan cream cheese. And then I'm going to add in my nutritional yeast. You can add in 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. I added in a 1/2 cup because I wanted it to be like lots of nooch in there, but that's just my personal preference. I'd recommend starting with a 1/4 cup. Now I've got my drained and soaked cashews. So once those are done soaking, I can just drain off any of that excess water. And I'm going to add in 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. I feel like anytime we're making a cheese, we definitely need salt in there because that's just one of the aspects we want to replicate from cheese, is to have that saltiness. And then again, optional, I'm going to add a little garlic powder and a little onion powder because I want this to be a bit of a flavored cream cheese, but you can make it plain. All you have to do is just skip the herbs and spices if you want to do that. Now I've got it in my high-powered blender here, which is my Vitamix, or you can use a food processor. It does have to be high-powered because you're wanting to make these cashews, you know, get into a really smooth consistency. So you can add a little bit more water if you're having troubles with this at all. You can stop to scrape the sides down with a spatula. You want to make sure this is super well processed or super well blended. If you don't soak the cashews, or if you don't do this long enough, you can get sort of a gritty, nutty texture, which just isn't going to really, it still tastes good, but it's just not going to really replicate cream cheese as much as we want it to. So when you get that blended up really well, you have this beautiful, thick, creamy consistency that, you know, we get from cream cheese, dairy cream cheese. So you can check that out. Now mine has a little bit of a yellow color to it because I put so much nooch in it. Just pull back on the nooch and you'll have more of that classic white cream cheese color. So now my carrots are done. I'm going to pull those out of the oven. I've checked them with a fork. They're nice and tender, and so I want to actually marinate those carrots. So I've got my little marinade from earlier. I'm just going to give it a little mix to recombine all those ingredients, and I'm going to pour that over top of my carrot ribbons and make sure I get everything out of the bowl there. And then I'm just going to mix it all together. I want to thoroughly coat all these little pieces so that they're all going to have that delicious smoky salmon flavor. So I'm just going to keep mixing those around. You want to marinate these carrots for at least an hour. That's why I recommend this whole recipe just be prepped ahead of time. And also these carrots are going to last 4 days in the fridge, so you can even prep this a couple days ahead if you want. It's going to get even better if you can marinate it for 24 hours. So if you have the chance, just make all of this ahead of time and then assemble it on the day you want to eat it. Now I'm just going to place the lid on. Once that's fully cooled, I can place it in the fridge to marinate there. Now it's been a day and it is time to assemble. I've got my bagel toasted perfectly how I like it. I know everybody has a different level of toastiness that they like. And I'm going to get my vegan cream cheese here. Lots of it. Don't be shy on that vegan cream cheese. And I'm going to get a nice healthy smear of that vegan cream cheese as my base. So these are served sort of open face, so it's up to you if you want to have, you know, 2, or you can, I've actually even served this on an English muffin and it was delicious as well, but of course it's best on a bagel. So I've got my nice vegan cream cheese base there, and now I'm going to get out my carrot lox that has been marinating to perfection. It has such a delicious smoky maple flavor. You could even add like a tablespoon of maple syrup if you want more of a maple smoky flavor. I do a teaspoon just as a base to start. So I'm going to put that on as my next layer, and then on top you can put your fresh dill, and if you like capers, you can put some capers on there for a little umami. It's so delicious. I've seen people even put a few sesame seeds or little pieces of tomato on there. Like, you do you. It's going to be so good regardless. So now it's time for the best part, which is the taste test. So smoky, savory. One of your favorites?
So good.
Favorite savory breakfast ever? Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video on how to make this vegan smoked salmon bagel lox deliciousness. I hope you guys love this video. If you like this video and you want to see other recipes like this one, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below.